So as you go to a venue and see a DJ, you're at a wedding, or maybe you watch a video online, you think that DJs must use headphones. Well, this is absolutely not true. Okay, so that's not true. Why does a DJ use headphones? The purpose of the headphone is so the DJ can hear the next song and they can blend the next song. Now, there's a myriad of ways that you can beat match or echo, and we're not going to get into that in this video, but essentially it's to hear the next song. Okay, well, if they don't need headphones, then why does a DJ use headphones? The majority of clubs and all festivals use on-stage monitors. Thus, it's pretty easy to spot who is DJ'd out and about at clubs and at festivals, as opposed to those who just DJ in their bedroom, basement, or wherever. Well, then I hear all the time from people, but I'm not in the club, so how can I do this? No worries, this video will cover all of that. I do take headphones as a backup. So what kind of headphones do I own? I have 2 pair of Pioneer XDJ X10s over-the-ear DJ headphones, and I have a pair of Sennheiser HD 400 Pros that I use here in the studio. I must say that the Sennheisers sound amazing. The Pioneers do travel with me to all of my gigs because at some point everything will break. I take spares of everything to all gigs. If my stage monitors fail, then I have my Pioneers. And if my front of the house speakers fail, I can then use my stage monitors front of the house, and then I still have my headphones. Essentially, I have backups to the backups. When you have done this for 44 years, you get it. You know that things can break. Now, if you're sitting there watching this video and you disagree or you just don't understand, what you're really saying is that you just don't get it. And the monitors that you use out and about at gigs, you can also use in your studio. I choose to do this for the consistency. I know what they sound like. I know what to expect. So without further ado, let's deep dive into stage monitors. Before I continue on, I've said this before and I'm just going to reiterate it right now. This video is not sponsored. I will not accept sponsorship any longer. I did that in the late 80s, early 90s, and all it does is make you say things that you absolutely do not mean. I buy everything that I own. That way I can speak about it just like I want. So let's dive in. I use a pair of Mackie 12As as my stage monitors. As you can see listed, these are Mackie Thump 212s. The 12As are not made any longer. The 212 took its place. When I bought these current stage monitors back in 2015, I paid $249 each for them. As you can see, the current replacements are $319. This is a price everywhere. First and foremost, I do not advocate for a 12-inch speaker front of the house. If you're using a directional speaker, or more commonly what is known as a point-and-shoot speaker, then you're going to need a 15-inch cabinet for that application front of the house. That's a video for another time. I'm not going to broach that subject right now, but just know that a 12-inch or even a 10-inch front of the house is not the way to go. But for a floor monitor, a 12-inch cabinet is fine. I also do not advocate a plastic cabinet front of the house. If you're not using plastic, then what you're using, you have a wood cabinet. It's pretty easy to tell who has a clue as a sound guy who's experienced when you walk in and you see plastic cabinets being used front of the house. I will never use a plastic cabinet as a front of the house main. But again, more on that on subsequent videos and tech tips. But if you think about what a floor monitor is used for, a plastic cabinet is actually okay. It excels in this application. And when you're using monitors to DJ with, you really don't want a lot of deep bass on stage. The deep bass that you're going to get from a wood enclosure isn't really needed. And hence, that's why a plastic cabinet does excel in this application. I've tried wood and I've tried plastic, and I've just found that on stage, a plastic cabinet works great. Then when you're using monitors to run sound for bands, which I do a lot of as well, then you can use these as floor wedges. They do a great job again, because as a vocalist, they only really need to hear the mid and high frequencies, which is where a plastic cabinet does a great job. So again, here is a view of Mackies, what they look like for illustration purposes, I am going to be using the board that I play out with, which is a Rain Performer. This is an overview of the Rain Performer right here. So let's start in the headphones section. This is where you would plug your headphones in. The first cable that you'll buy is a 1/4-inch stereo TRS to a male XLR. Depending upon how far away that you need the cabinet to be, that will determine the length. I have chose a 10-foot cable that gives me just a little bit of extra. The levels I'm going to come back to. Now, as we move to the booth side, a mid-grade controller and high-end controller will have a booth output. The booth volume will control this output. For my application, I'm using a dual mono TRS to a single male XLR. Again, 10 foot. Just incidentally, I did buy these off of Amazon, and I think combined they were less than $25. Now let's go to the back of the main speaker. We are going to daisy chain these. The first speaker is the master. So this is what the back of the Mackie Master does look like. Again, in audio, it's called daisy chain. We are going to daisy chain the floor monitors. The headphone output that I spoke about, I run it into channel 1 just for simplicity. The booth output, I run into channel 2. This output cable, we're going to come back to that more in a minute, but I know that you see that and don't want to cause any confusion. Now, on the volumes, the input volume on channel 1 and 2, I would recommend that you keep these volumes the same and keep them relatively low. You'll be able to adjust the volumes on your board. That is the main volume that's going to cross over to the slave speaker in the daisy chain stream. Keep that at about 12 o'clock in the middle. It just makes the volume far more manageable. Now back to this cable. This is the output from the master going over to the slave. You can see the input comes in from the master. Channel 2 and the mixed out is not used on the slave. If you look at the volumes, the input gain, again, is very manageable, and the main is kept straight up, or you can call it unity if you wish. Now, how do you adjust the levels? Well, just like if you had headphones, you're going to use the mix volume, you're going to use the level control, and that will be affected down on your floor monitors. If you have not used floor monitors, it's going to take some getting used to, but once you see how handy this is, you'll never go back to headphones. Now, on the booth volume, once this volume is set, you rarely have to touch it. There may be an occasion that you do have to go and make some finite adjustments, but rarely will you touch the booth volume because you're changing the level and the mix over on the headphone side. This is a very basic setup that I used at a local American Legion. You can see my floor monitors, and since 1988, I have used monitors wherever I go. I hope that you did enjoy this video on why I do not use headphones. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.